Hey guys, so today we are doing mustard, and I know this is not the mustard that one would think of when making mustard because it's pretty darn cheap, right? But I've always wanted to try it, and I actually finally found a recipe for a copycat of yellow mustard. So I want to try that. However, I also want to do some fancier mustards, I guess you could call them. So we are going to do a Dijon, an English mustard, and a Cranberry Mostarda. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it looks like that. So yeah, I started yesterday because two of the recipes, the Dijon and the English mustard, the mustard seeds need to soak overnight in their alcohol and vinegar mixtures, respectively. So I did that last night, and we're gonna go back right now and I'll show you that process really quick. And then when we come back, we will get to blending both of those up because the Dijon needs to go on the stove. All right, let's go take a look. Two of our mustards that we are doing, actually, I think three of them, just wait. No, just two of them. Two of them need to soak for 24 to 48 hours before we can actually make the mustard. So I want to get that started here tonight so that tomorrow we can actually make them. So the two mustards that need it are the Dijon mustard and the English mustard. The Dijon mustard I got for Christmas, the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. It has a whole bunch of recipes that I want to try, particularly some meal in a jars. Anyway, doing mustard right now there. So we're doing the Dijon mustard from that, and then the English mustard is actually a Martha Stewart mustard. So it is not a tested safe recipe, but I don't think I'm going to try and can that one. I think I'm just going to see if we like it, and we'll eat it and keep it in the fridge. It'll be fine. The others should all be able to be canned though, which is kind of fun. All right, let's get these two going though. We will start with the Dijon. I don't know a ton about mustard, but I have been doing some research. Other than that, I really love it, so I like to eat it. Actually, I'm going to use this one up first. However, when you're using mustard, as you know, mustard can be spicy sometimes, spicy or not. And what makes it spicy is actually once it is ground, what liquid, type of liquid, temperature of liquid is placed with it. So if you put it in cold water, it gets really super spicy. Like it can literally burn you, kind of spicy. But if you put it in an acidic liquid like wine or vinegar, you get the flavor of the mustard and a little bit of the heat, but not nearly to the extreme that you do if you used water. Also, if you heat the liquid, like if you just wanted to use water, not wine, if you heated the water, it would have the same effect. It would basically just deaden the, I'm not sure what they're called, the things that make mustard hot. All right, so we need a cup of onion for this, and I'm having this recipe because we don't need this much mustard, especially since I'm making 4 different kinds. So like I think I said, we need a cup of onion. And actually, it does not need to be very finely chopped because we are going to strain it out afterwards. So the Dijon mustard calls for the liquid to be heated and then have the acidic ingredients as well. It uses both white wine and white wine vinegar. However, I think mostly the reason that they are having me heat the liquid is because they want to infuse it with the onions, garlic, and the herbs that we're going to put in it. All right, I think that's plenty. So I'm not super concerned about the amounts. in these, like being really careful about following it exactly, although I pretty much am, since we're going to strain this all out. And it's just going to be flavor. And it calls for 3 cloves of garlic. These are kind of little, but it is my garden fresh garlic, so it is much stronger than what you can normally get at the store, we have noticed. So even though they're little, I think 3 will be just fine. Alright, then we just need 2 peppercorns. And it says a sprig of rosemary, so I'm just going to put a pinch of dried rosemary in there. And actually, we only need half a sprig, so don't even need that much. Right, after that, we need just a cup of the white wine and a half a cup of the white wine vinegar. Turn that on to medium heat, and then we need also a half teaspoon of salt. Alright, and I think that is it. My little sticky notes with my halved amounts on it. Yeah, so then we're just going to boil this for 15 to 20 minutes until the onions are really soft, and then we will strain it, discard all the solids, stir in the mustard seeds and the dry mustard, and let it set at room temperature for 24 hours. It does say, but no longer than 48. So that's what we're going to do. For the English mustard, we are actually going to use brown mustard seeds and yellow mustard seeds. So the brown mustard seeds are going to be, there's actually white, yellow, brown, and black mustard seeds. And so the brown and black are going to be the strongest tasting, and while the yellow will be more mild and the white the absolute most mild. So for the English mustard, it's a fairly strong mustard, and we want to do part of it with brown mustard seeds. So we need a half cup. Whoop, oh, and they're going all over the place. Half cup of brown. This is going to make a ton of mustard even at a halved amount. And 1/8 of a cup of yellow. This is a 1/4. I got this big huge thing of mustard seeds because I thought I would need way more to make mustard, and you don't really actually need all that much mustard seed. But I think it lasts forever. Actually, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna try planting some and see if they grow. It'd be kind of fun. I mean, it's a seed, right? Okay, so that is all we need for the mustard, and then we need a half a cup of a dark beer. I am using a porter, which nobody drinks in this house, so we now have a 6-pack and most of a can of porter. Oh well. It also won't go bad. All right, I'm just gonna give that a little stir. Get all of the mustard seeds mixed in and damp. And then this also will just sit. I can't remember if it's covered or uncovered. It does not actually say. It just says check periodically to make sure seeds are covered by liquid. Add more if necessary. Right. I think I'm gonna cover it because we have our cats and they eat everything. I don't actually think that our cats would eat this, but they have surprised us in the past, so better safe than sorry. All right, so yeah, this is what it looks like right now, and oops, we will just let it set on the counter. I almost messed that up. You're also supposed to add the vinegar to this mixture. So let me just do that. We need 3/4 of a cup of white wine vinegar. Yeah, all right. There we go. Now we'll cover it and it will sit on the counter overnight. I had to take a bit of a turn because I came over to check on the onion mixture and it was almost dry in the pan. So I ended up adding the full amount of wine and white wine vinegar, and we're just gonna do a full recipe because maybe you just can't have it because you have to cook it for that length of time, and I still had 5 minutes left on the timer. So we're just gonna make a full recipe. And the great thing is this is cannable, so cannable. I can can it. So it'll last for a long time. I'm just gonna get this strained into here. I'm gonna actually press this to get all the liquid out. And you do add water when you are blending it, but I feel like it wouldn't have covered, well, it wouldn't have, it was literally almost dry. So, all right, so we can ignore this guy now because I'm not going to have it. And we need 1 cup of yellow mustard seeds. And this is a 1/2 cup measure. Oh, this is really strong. It's making my eyes water. And 1/3 of a cup of mustard powder, so dried mustard. I actually ground this myself. Since I had all the seeds, I figured I might as well. All right, should be good. But you can buy powdered mustard. Just give this a good stir. Whew, I can smell the mustard. Actually, it smells really good. All right, and then yeah, I'm just gonna cover this up as well, and it is going to sit on the counter with the other one until tomorrow, and then we will come back to this. All right, so here we have our English mustard. Actually, wait. We're gonna start with the Dijon because the Dijon does have to cook, whereas the English mustard just gets jarred up after it's blended with its additional ingredients. So, oh wow, this is like hard. So this is what the Dijon looks like after soaking overnight. And says to put it in the blender and blend it until it's smooth, but add water as needed to get it so it can blend, because I don't think it will blend very well like this. So let me just grab some water, and then you cook it down to thicken it up again once you have it blended to the right consistency. So I think it said 1.5 cups. Let me just double check. Oh, actually 2 2/3 cups. So I'm gonna start with like maybe a cup. All right, let's see how that goes and start there. All right, let's check consistency. Oh, that looks lovely. Here, let me bring you closer. So yeah, this looks like a great consistency. In fact, I don't even really think I need to cook it down. It's pretty thick as it is, but we'll at least heat it through because we have to heat it through to can it anyway. So let's get it on the stove. Actually, it rather got heated through just being in the blender at that high speed, but and I am going to taste this. However, every single recipe that I looked at online, and in fact, even in the ball book, it does say it needs at least a week to kind of let the sharpness of the flavors mellow a bit. So I'm not sure how much I'll actually be able to say about the flavor right now. But we will taste it. All right, I think that is plenty. And I'm just gonna put this on really low because this is super thick and let it get heated through. So this is transfer mustard to small saucepan, bring to boil, stirring often. Reduce heat and simmer uncovered 5 minutes. Okay, I guess maybe I can't walk away from it. All right. So I'm actually going to turn the heat up a little bit. All right, I couldn't really bring this up to a boil. Well, I mean, I guess it does. It just doesn't look like a boil because it's so thick. But I have let that do that for like 5 minutes, like it said. So we're gonna go ahead and turn off the heat. And normally you'd be putting this into jars right now and putting it in the canner, but since I'm doing several others, I'm going to just put the lid on here. And we will come back to it when we are ready to can it up. All right, I can't resist. It's probably really hot. It smells really good. Woo! That's spicy. Wow. Yeah, it needs some time. But I think it'll taste good. I mean, you can definitely taste like the flavor. It tastes like a Dijon for sure. But yeah, it needs a little time to set, mellow itself out. All right, gave these guys a rinse and let's get started with the English mustard. So the issue with the English mustard is the recipe says to put the mustard powder that we're gonna add to this in cold water for 20 minutes. And if you remember, putting powdered mustard into cold water makes it get really spicy. So, and in some of the reviews, that was a big complaint people had, is that the English mustard was way too spicy. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna put it in hot water. Because this, also if you'll remember, this has brown mustard seeds and yellow mustard seeds. So it's already going to be spicier because of the brown mustard seeds. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna put it in with this mixture here from yesterday that has the beer and the vinegar in it. And then I'll just add the water. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. All right, I need a half cup. Hopefully I have enough here. We're gonna call that good enough. All right, and I'm just gonna mix this in here and go get 1 cup of hot water. Or sorry, half cup, only half cup. We're doing a half recipe of this. We are gonna have mustard coming out our ears. All right, we're gonna go with hot water. And we'll just let this set while we measure out the remaining ingredients. So we need a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, allspice, and mace. However, I don't have any mace. I should be doing this at Mom's house because she actually does have mace. But I looked it up, substitutions for mace, and apparently both mace and nutmeg come from the same fruit. So the nutmeg is the actual pit inside the fruit, and mace is made out of like this membrane that's around the nutmeg pit or seed. So very similar flavor. Apparently nutmeg is a little bit stronger than mace, but so I'll just put a little bit less than is called for. Just gonna go ahead and put this in here. All right, well, I'm gonna go rinse this out because I'm actually only supposed to be putting 1/8 of a teaspoon of each of these in there. Try this again. All right, this is the allspice. Oh my goodness, I need to read my directions better. I actually need a 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. All right, so let me just pull this guy off here. There we go. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of the turmeric and 1/8 of a teaspoon of the mace. Or nutmeg in our case. All right, and then the only other thing is wow, I am just making a mess today. 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, and now I'm going to get the seeds in there and blend it all up. It looks kind of like Goulden's brown mustard. I don't know, don't you think? The same color? Probably actually has a very similar flavor too. So this is not a canning recipe. I'm sure I could can it if I wanted to, because it has a lot of vinegar in it, but it is not an actual tested recipe, and I'm not as familiar with mustard, so it's not really something I want to fool around with. So these will just be going in jars in the refrigerator. All right, here we go. This is our English mustard. Shall we give it a taste? Let's be brave, give it a taste. Ooh, wow. Yeah, really glad I did not put the mustard powder in cold water. This would probably be unbearable. It's really interesting though. It's definitely much sweeter than the Dijon. I can't imagine that just the 1 teaspoon of sugar made a difference. I'm guessing probably the dark beer is giving it some sweetness too. But again, this is gonna need to sit in the refrigerator for at least a week or even 2, probably before we want to use it on anything, because very, very sharp flavor right now, as well as very spicy. All right, so I'm just going to put this to the side right now, and we will get started on our next one. So I was going to do the yellow mustard next, but I just realized that I used the last of my ground mustard for the English mustard, so I need to wait for my blender to dry before I can grind up some more of the yellow for more mustard powder. So in the meantime, we are going to do the Cranberry Mostarda. And the first thing we do is, I'm having this recipe as well. So it's 3/4 of a cup of red wine. And then we need a tablespoon each of yellow and brown mustard. All right, so we put our tablespoon of yellow and tablespoon of brown mustard seed in the red wine, and we're just gonna bring this up to a simmer and then take it off the heat and let it set for 10 minutes. So we're gonna wait for that really quick. I'm not doing so great at multitasking tonight, so we can wait for that, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, we need a half of a small red onion, which actually, so then we need a 1/4 of a small red onion. I don't have a small red onion up here, and I really don't want to go downstairs and get one, so we are going to use a shallot. Close enough. So along with the shallot, we of course need cranberries. It does actually have weight measurements for the cranberries. So it says 1 12-ounce package. All right, so 350 grams. And I am going to give these a quick wash. And do a quick pick through as well. Make sure I don't have any obviously bad guys in here. All right, that looks good. All right, so we're going to add the onions to this. A half a cup of sugar. And some red wine vinegar. We need 1/8 of a cup. And we need a teaspoon of salt. This is stir, and we are supposed to let this cook until all of the cranberries have split. My blender bowl is dry enough, so I am going to get some more mustard seeds ground up. I think I'll do a cup. It's probably going to give me way more than I need, but that's okay. I've hardly made a dent in these mustard seeds. Oh dear. That was a terrible plan. All right, let's get this guy in here. Try that again. I want this to be really super finely ground so that my mustard is really smooth. And if you've ever used powdered mustard that you can get at the store, it's usually very, very fine. Yeah, this isn't quite there. All right, yeah, this is, you can't feel any grit really at all in it now. It's perfect. All right, we have it packaged up and enough for the recipe left in here. So let's go check on our cranberries. So the interesting thing about this recipe is that not only do you use the mustard seeds, but you also put a tablespoon of actual Dijon, prepared Dijon mustard in it as well. And since we just made some, I'm going to use that. And this, we are just going to let it simmer for 15 minutes until it gets nice and thick. And then it will be ready to go into jars as well. It smells so good. Time for the pièce de résistance. The totally non-fancy plain yellow mustard. Actually, I want to grab the bottle one more time because I'm interested to see. This is supposed to be a copycat of French's. Vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, paprika, organic spice, organic natural flavor, garlic powder. Actually, all of those ingredients were organic, but yeah, organic spice, organic natural flavors. Not sure what that means. But the rest of the ingredients are the ones that are in this recipe as well. So hopefully it's right. So once again, this recipe calls for putting the mustard powder in cold water. You do heat it up right away. And nobody in the notes say that it's spicy. They say it tastes exactly like the stuff in the yellow bottle. So I'm gonna follow the recipe. I'm gonna have trust. I'm gonna have faith. Faith. All right, so in our non-reactive pot, I'm going to put 3/4 cup of mustard powder. Then we need 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder. Hardly seems worth it, but 1/8 teaspoon garlic powder. A 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, which this is what's going to give it that really bright yellow color. What am I doing? I'm doing a whole recipe. I was thinking I was doing a half recipe, so actually I need a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. And I need a 1/4 teaspoon of the garlic powder. And then we need 1/8 teaspoon, actually 1/8 this time, of paprika. And then we just need 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Easy peasy. I'm just gonna mix that together a bit. And then add our 1 cup of cold water. I would have to say that mustard in general, like all kinds of mustards, I love. But there is just something about this plain yellow mustard that I just love. And my favorite thing to do with it, this might sound completely disgusting to a lot of people, including my husband and children, is mustard on a tortilla with cheddar cheese melted. So good. I love it. I actually literally almost eat it every single night before bed as my snack. Okay. Da-da-dum. Stir over medium to low heat, stirring often until it bubbles down to a thick paste, 30 to 45 minutes. And then we will whisk in the vinegar, cook till it's the desired consistency, and done. So all of these have been really easy. I mean, the only thing that has really been time consuming, and even that wasn't time consuming, you would just have to wait for it, the seeds to soak overnight. So if you want to try mustards, this is an easy thing to do. And it kind of sounds fancy when you tell people, I made this mustard from scratch. I will say it's highly likely that this yellow mustard is probably more expensive to make, like with the ingredients that you'd have to buy for it. Mustard seeds they're not expensive, but they're not inexpensive either. But still, it's fun. All right, so I'm just gonna let this cook down, and I will bring you back when it is ready to get finished up. All right, our yellow mustard is, I think, the right consistency. And it actually does smell like yellow mustard. I'm not gonna taste this one until it's cooled down pretty significantly. I mean, you can tell that it also, and the directions do say that it needs to sit for a week or two as well. So you can tell there's like just a sharpness to it, but it's pretty much smells like yellow mustard. So I'm gonna let this cool down, and we are going to I have my jars in water here getting warmed up to can. We'll need to reheat our Dijon mustard, and then I'm actually going to take my immersion blender to the cranberry one. I know it's supposed to be chunky, but I kind of want it a little bit smoother than it is. So let's do that, and then we will start getting that one and the Dijon into jars and into the canner. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and get this into jars. Since we don't need to reheat it, might as well just get it put up. All right, one down. So this is what our Cranberry Mostarda is looking like. So like I said, I do want to give it a quick zhuzh with the immersion blender. All right, I think that's a little bit better. Now this needs to go back on the stove as well to heat back up, because it needs to be hot to go into the jars, as well as the Dijon. However, while it is still cool, I should probably give it a little taste test. That's really good. I feel like it could be a little more mustardy though. I'm considering stirring in another tablespoon of the Dijon. Yeah, I think I'm going to. Let's do that. All right, let's give it another try here. Quick tip, if you are wanting to taste your food multiple times and not stick the spoon that you stuck in your mouth in the food, just take your spoon that you're stirring it with, drop some in your spoon, and you can keep using the same one. Yeah, that's totally what it needed. Just that little bit of extra. And I imagine as it sits as well, the mustard seeds will release more of their flavor into this, but oh, that's good. Yummy. All right. Back on the stove with this guy and the Dijon. These are both pretty thick, so I'm gonna keep a very close eye on them. All right, we have all of our jars and they are nice and hot, just out of the hot water. And we are going to start with the Dijon because I have the most of that. So I think I'll take it up with the most jars and yeah, get it into jars. So just as a reminder, the reason that you want to put hot product into hot jars and then into hot water is so that everything is the same temperature and you don't have any what's the word for it? Where it basically shocks the glass and makes it break because one or the other of the three were too cold. And ask me how I know. I have, unfortunately, broken many bottles or jars. And let me tell you the mess that you have to clean up in your canner when that happens. And all the other jars that were in the canner with it, ugh, it's a mess. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So we want to have this at 1/4 inch headspace. But I need to debubble them first before I measure that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get these guys sealed up here and in the water so they don't cool down too much. And make sure your rims are nice and clean. And we are using brand new lids that have been washed. The ring just finger tight. In the water, these go. All right, so here are our Cranberry Mostarda going into the water. All right, so our cranberry needs 15 minutes and the Dijon needs 10. So when you're canning two things that need different times, you just need to can it for the one that needs the longest time. It's just easiest. It's not going to hurt anything in the one that doesn't need quite as much time. However, both of these, I need to add 10 minutes because we're at 5,000 feet. So for the Dijon, it would be 20 minutes, and for the cranberry, it would be 25. So we will set a timer for 25 minutes once the water starts boiling. Now, my yellow mustard isn't quite cool enough yet, so I'm going to wait for another minute or few minutes for that, and then we'll do a taste test there. Hey guys, so it's been a couple of days. We actually had a blizzard warning here for the last couple of days and now are on a cold weather, freezing temperatures, I don't know, advisory, something like that. We actually got down to negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit last night, so it's a little chilly here right now. Anyway, so I got distracted. Sadly, it also meant that we had to postpone our trip to my mom's again. But we will get down there. Anyway, we finished all of the mustards and we still need to taste test our yellow mustard. I have had these in the fridge, I promise. The ones that weren't canned. All right. Oh, it totally smells like yellow mustard. Here we go. Oh my gosh. It's totally yellow mustard. How crazy is that? It's not spicy at all. Like, it has zero spice to it. That's amazing. It is a little gritty, so I mean that's part of the problem of grinding your own mustard seeds. I probably should have ground them a little bit longer. It's not super noticeable, except that, you know, I just ate it directly, but like on a sandwich or something, you're never gonna know the difference. Huh, that's very cool. All right, yellow mustard is a success. I am very excited to try our English mustard and our Dijon in a couple of weeks and see how they are coming along. And then actually I'm interested to try this one as well in a couple of weeks, our Cranberry Mostarda, see if it got a little more mustardy tasting. But overall, I'm pretty excited. And like I said, this was way easier than I was expecting. I've never made mustard before. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. So this was a completely new little foray for me. And I mean, the only reason it took a long time was because I made 4 of them instead of, you know, just making a Dijon. So yeah, try it out, guys. If you like mustard and you want to try making your own, super easy. Definitely should try it. All right, well, I actually am getting ready for another big project for the next couple of days. I need to rearrange our freezers, get some tomatoes cooked so I can make some room in the freezers, and then we're gonna do some a batch cooking day. So very excited for that. Stay tuned, and I will see you next time. Have a great night, guys. Bye.